Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dream Resource Center. Today is our legal update, April 22nd, 2021. My name is Dr. Ochoa, Dean of Student Services, and today we have the pleasure of having our partner from CARECEN, Frances Davila, provide the updates. Thank you, Ms. Frances.
Good morning, everyone. So a couple updates today. So one thing I actually just found out this morning was that President Biden is trying to include in his budget proposal that's right now being discussed to expand Pell Grant eligibility to undocumented immigrants, including those who have DACA. So Pell Grant is for people who are of low income and need financial support. And usually because this is a federal grant, lots of non-citizens haven't had access to it. So right now, like the maximum that you could get during the school year is like around 6,500. So again, this is just something that's part of the proposal that he's trying to include in his budget. So we don't know if it's gonna actually go through or whether or when, because budget in Congress can be really complicated. And so once we have a final idea, I'll let you know. And it might also be something that ELEC's Financial Aid Office is going to eventually find out as well. So just be aware of that. And the other update was for people who have TPS, that's temporary protected status. Folks who have temporary protected status usually are able to have a work permit and are basically protected from like deportation. So people from Nepal, Haiti, El Salvador, Honduras. And so there was a case before the Supreme Court, and the arguments were heard earlier this week. And basically the issue is that people, like when you have TPS, if you came here without status, like without papers, if one day you want to get a green card, you have to have a lawful entry. Like you have to have, at some point in your life, the last entry should have been a lawful entry. And so a lot of people have this obstacle that they have to overcome when they try to get a green card, where even if they have, like, let's say a US citizen spouse that can petition for them, they need to have a lawful entry. Right now in the Ninth Circuit, which includes California, a grant of TPS basically is considered a lawful entry. However, the Ninth Circuit, as well as the Sixth and the Eighth, they agree on that definition. But then there's other circuits who disagree. They say, no, you need to have had a lawful entry. A grant of TPS isn't that. So there's basically a split amongst the circuit courts. And the circuit courts are the courts that are right below the Supreme Court. So what happened was that in New Jersey, a couple of folks basically appealed, saying that I have been here for 20 years, like I have a way to get a green card and I can't because I'm in a circuit that says that I need to go abroad and come back in. And for some people, they're not able to do that. So basically it sounded like the Supreme Court was actually siding against them, basically saying that no, getting a grant of TPS doesn't necessarily mean you've been admitted. And this really is hard because at the same time that they're saying that US Immigration Service has also stopped considering people that travel with advanced parole with TPS is also a lawful entry. So they're people who've been able to have TPS and apply for advanced parole to get this lawful entry, if they weren't living in California, like in the Ninth Circuit, they can use that. And now immigration is saying, no, you can't do that. So people are struggling to, they've been here for decades and they're struggling to find a way to get their green card. And not only if they don't live in a circuit that allows them to consider their status as admission, and now they can't travel abroad to get a lawful entry, they're in this legal limbo. And the Supreme Court right now, because it's a conservative court, they seem to be siding against Cepesianos. Unfortunately, Biden, like, this is the government arguing against Cepesianos. And so as much as Biden is saying, like, I want to help Cepesianos and pass this immigration bill, we're seeing that that's not what he's doing in the courts. So it's a bit upsetting. And I think the strategy is that I think this administration is doing, it's like they want to pass a bill. They don't want to do things through the budget, or they don't want to drop some lawsuits in the courts. But passing immigration reform in Congress is a long shot right now, because in the Senate, like, it would have to take every single Democrat to vote for it, plus a couple Republicans, and many Democrats who are running for re-election are not necessarily, they might like not vote for an immigration reform bill. So again, it's just something to keep in mind. Hasn't been a decision from Supreme Court yet, but based on the arguments, it sounded like the conservative majority was siding for the government. So if you have TPS, or you know folks who have TPS and who don't live in California and you're concerned, please feel free to reach out and I can explain it more. If you have TPS now, and you're trying to find a way to get permanent residency, definitely reach out, because right now there's still a way for you to do that. We would just have to get on it as soon as possible. So that's pretty much the legal update. It's more of a summary of what happened in the Supreme Court. There hasn't been a decision yet. So we'll see what happens. That's pretty much it.